Welcome again to Kim's Bioproduction Academy. Today we want to discuss about the internal skeleton. This is for the human being. We are calling it endoskeleton. This one is a structure of the endoskeleton. When you see me, you see this. Our bodies are just covered with flesh. But at the end, this one is the final destination. Our great ancestors, when you check about the structure right now, this one is the full structure. So from this point, this one is the head, of which is made up of a skull. So all this structure is made up of immovable joints. This is a movable joint, but at this point, we have a movable joint. But with these, it will have some lines of weakness, which are called sutures. They're called sutures. And in case of operation, we need to operate above the brain. What will happen? We'll open these sutures slightly. So we are saying movable because the joints are fixed. Those joints are fixed, not movable as this one. Then we have the orbit, where the eyeball will be located. This one is the orbit. Our eyes. Here we have the orbit. This one is the nostrils. Then we have here a movable. This one is about still part of the skull. This lower jaw, this one is the lower jaw, you can see it's movable. This one is the upper jaw, which is called the mandibular, it's immovable. But this one is called the mandibles and it's movable. So that is the structure of the skull in general. At this other end, let's check from the rear section, you can check some protrusions and you can check others here. These are the vertebral column. And on this end, you can check some protrusions. They are called the occipital condyles. They are called the occipital condyles. So we have this whole structure. They are bony. These are your ribs. Your ribs. You know you have the ribs? These are the ribs. Within this lining now is called the sternum. This one is a sternum. These ones, we call it the clavicle. We call it the clavicle. Another name, you can call it the collarbone, but it's not accepted. Use the clavicle. These are your ribs. This one is your sternum. Our skeleton will be divided into two sections. The first section, it will be axial skeleton. The second one, it will be the appendicular skeleton. So, the upper section, which is the skull, will be part of the axial skeleton, and the rib cage, all this one is the rib cage, will still form the appendicular, not appendicular skeleton, it will be the skull, and the vertebral column. Then the axial skeleton are the limbs. So these limbs, we have the lower limbs, we have the upper limbs, and we have the rib cage. Those are the appendicular skeleton. So we are speaking about the axial skeleton being the skull and the vertebral column. These are the vertebral column. And inside this vertebral column, what will be running? Something called the spinal cord. So these bones, they are running from this line to this other end. We are calling them what? Vertebral column. And within the vertebral column, we are saying we will have the what? You will have spinal cord. Of which the spinal cord is something which is very dangerous, and that's why it has to be protected by bones. We are saying that lining is bony, and they will be divided to 5 sections. The first section will be the cervical vertebrae. Cervical vertebrae in human beings, there are 7. They will be followed by something called the thoracic vertebrae. Thoracic vertebrae, which there will be 12 in number. They will be followed by lumbar vertebrae. The lumbar will be 5 in number. And we will have the caudal vertebrae. Not caudal vertebrae, but the sacral vertebrae, which will be 5 still in number. That is 5 in human beings. Most mammals there are 7. In sheep there are 6. Then we'll have the caudal vertebrae. That is just the one that forms the coslex. We call them some structures called, what are they called? those structures which have lost their function. So it's going to go to my head. I'll give you that. Then now that we're speaking about the coidal and the cosines. So the simple formula for getting these cervical, the vertebral column will be, you take your breakfast at 7 a.m. So that breakfast, let it be cervical vertebra, be 7 in number. You take your lunch at noon, which is at 12. That gives you the thoracic vertebra, they are 12 in number. You take your dinner at 5 p.m. So that makes lumbar vertebra to be 5 in number. So this one is the whole structure. Let's now understand one by one. This is what we're speaking about. The cervical vertebra will be divided to 3 sections. The first section, we have the atlas. We are followed by axis and followed by the otherest 5 cervical vertebrae. So the first bone here, which will articulate with the occipital condyles of the skull. So that means the atlas will be having something called articular facet, which will be articulating with the occipital condyles of the skull to form, the first one will be forming something called what? For the nodding, forming a pivot joint, which will allow some nodding. That is when you do this one, we'll have a rotatory movement and we have a nodding. The nodding will be done by the first bone, which is the atlas. Then the second bone here is known as the axis. It will be articulating with the atlas. But now the atlas will be having something called the neural canal, which is very wide. And this axis will be having something called odontoid process. The odontoid process will be articulating with the centrum to form something called hinge joint, which will be allowing rotatory movement of the head. Then from this bone, we'll have now the rest 5. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These bones are the one that forms what? What we are calling cervical vertebra. These cervical vertebra, the other difference with these other ones, they have many protrusions. Those are post-zygopophysis, and the other protrusions like the anapophysis. From these ones now, we have other what? We say we have now 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These 12 are the ones that forms the thoracic vertebra. And when you check those thoracic vertebra, their features will be, they will be articulating with the ribs. They will be articulating with the ribs. Your ribs will be how many number? We are saying this are not 12, but the ribs will not be 12. We have some ribs called floating ribs, because ribs will not be reaching 12. We have some 10 ribs, but others are floating. So those are called floating ribs. So we are saying they are articulating. At this point, we'll be having something at the, we will come and discuss of all those bones about how they are adapted to their function. But briefly, they will be having something like tuberculum and capitulum demifacets, which will be articulated in these ribs. From this now point, we will have the lumbar, and the lumbar we have said there are 5, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you can see this is the end. So these are 5 lumbar vertebrae. Then this other bone structure with fused bones is what we are calling the what? Sacral vertebrae. This one is the sacral vertebrae. And the last one here is what we are calling the caudal, which has been modified to form something called the cosines. So this sacral vertebra will fuse now to this structure here. That is our hip called, it's not called, some students call it the thigh bone. It's not the thigh bone, but we call it the belfigil. The belfigil is innominate. Innominate means they're in pairs. They are in pairs. So this one is 1 and this are 2. They're similar. They're just in pair. And within this point, we have a line of weakness here. In females, it will be having a cartilage. And this cartilage is what we call pubis symphysis. So this lining and this bone is the pubis. This one is the pubis symphysis. And we're saying in females, it will be having a cartilage. What's the role of that cartilage? In females, number 1, it will reduce friction. You understand? Reduce friction. Maybe during sexual intercourse, it can reduce some friction. And again, it can allow expansion during giving birth. These two bones have to separate, and these two bones will do what? Will separate to allow for the passage of the fetus. This all here is what we are calling obturator foramen. This one is called obturator foramen. Obturator foramen will be allowing passage of blood vessels. It will be allowing passage of muscles and even nerves. This one we are calling obturator foramen. Then from this point, you can see there is a hole here, but it's not hollow. It's just I can use the word, but it's curving. This curvature is for articulating with this one. You can see we have a ball here. This one is the ball, the ball head of these ones, femur. These are femur. And so we are speaking about this one. At this point, there is something of articulation. So we call it the acetapalum. The acetapalum will be allowing fusion of or articulation of the head of the femur to allow a rotatory movement, and this rotatory movement will be allowing it, will be allowing this leg can move 360 degrees, and that's why you can see some ladies, not men, men are not that much flexible. Those ladies, they can do what? They can lie on the ground and lay flat. So that is at an angle of 360 degrees, not 360, but it's 180 degrees. But that leg can be twisted to an angle of 360 degrees. But this cannot be achieved because of what? Muscles, tendons, which are attached to this point. Because if you exceed that, what will happen? There will be muscle stretch. From that point now, we have another hole here, which is called the ischium. We are saying this one is the what? Pubis. This one is the ischium, and this one is the ilum. So all this structure. Then from this point now, we have some articular facets which articulates with the sacrum. So this one is the structure of the bulficule. We'll come and discuss the whole structure of that. Then again, from that point now, you can see this one. This one is the femur, and this long structure is what we are calling a shaft. And this longness is just for increasing surface area for muscle attachment. We'll come and describe this bone by itself. This one is what we are calling tibia, and this small bone is what we are calling vipula. Then we have now the tarsals, metatarsals here. This one is the tarsal, this one is the metatarsals, and this one are the phalanges. So we are saying tarsals, metatarsals, phalanges. So we are speaking about femur. We speak about, at this point to this point, we have some two bones here. And those two bones are, the larger bone, we are calling it the tibia. The smaller bone, we are calling it the vibula. Then from this point, our fingers within our toes are what we are calling the phalanges. But before now the bone, that is the end at this point, is what we are calling tarsal. From this point, the wrist, that will be the wrist in the hand, we call it what? The metatarsals and the phalanges. And we will be done with this last structure. Let's go back to the hand. So we are speaking about this one is the upper what? Upper leg, lower leg. So this one is the upper hand, lower hand. So this point to this point, this is what I'm speaking here to this point. This one is what we are calling the humerus. This one, we have something called ulna and radius. Ulna and radius. So the ulna, this one is the ulna. You can check from that huge structure shape. And this extension. So this extension is what we are calling olecranon process. So the olecranon process is an extension. You can see this one is to prevent our stretching of the arm. So this bone here, the connection from this point to this point is what we are calling the ulna. Then the other upper bone, which is this one now, is what we are calling the radius. From this point now, we have cabals. The other one was tarsals. This one is cabals. And this one, the first one, is the cabals. Then you go to the second layer, which is what? Metacabals and the phalanges. This one will be. You can see this one is flexible, right? And it forms a joint called the gliding joint. These are gliding joints. So these are gliding joints. From this joint now, we'll have this layer from this point to this point that we are calling. This one is the tarsal. Not tarsal, sorry, cabal. metacarpal, and the phalanges. These are the 5-digit figures. We are calling them the phalanges, right? From another point, we'll have some joint. We'll have some joint at this point. This joint, you can see it's moving, and it can rotate at 360 degrees. So with me, it can rotate at all the planes. This one can rotate only under one plane. We call this one hinge joint. We call this one what? Ball and socket joint. So this one you need. This one articulates with the scapula. This one is the scapular bone. The scapula and this humerus will be allowing a rotatory movement. And this rotatory movement, we speak about ball and socket joints. We'll discuss still about the joints and how the features, how they look like. So we're speaking about ball and socket joint, the head of the humerus articulating with the glenoid cavity to form ball and socket joint. The glenoid cavity is found at the scapula. Then this one is the hinge joint. It's about the humerus and the ulnar radius. We form a hinge joint. The last bone here is the scapula. So our scapula is this one. That is the scapula. This scapular bone, which is this point, you can see it's triangular in shape. It will be having some structures like the glenoid, acromial, and those ones, again, in our next video, we'll come and discuss more about the structure. So this is you, this is me. Hope you have understood yourself. Don't just be moving. You don't even know about your bones. You should be knowing your bones. When you go to hospitals, in case you're told, in case of a fracture, when we speak about a certain bone as a fracture, you should be knowing which bone has a fracture. Which bones, again, we have some structures called the tendons and the ligaments. You should know which attach a muscle to a muscle to a bone, then a bone to a bone. A tendon is a muscle to the bone attachment. Let's speak about this point. We have the pies and muscle, right? In your hand. These are the pies and these are the tricep muscle. So from that muscles now, when that muscle attached to this other bone, from this bone to the bone, that is muscle. We call them tendons. But this bone and this bone again will be attacked by a structure. So let's say this bone and this bone, they will be attacked by a structure called a ligament. So ligament connects a bone and a bone. Tendons connects a bone and a ligament. Thank you very much. That was a brief description of our exoskeleton. And we are speaking about what? This is you and this is me. Thank you very much. And welcome. As we describe, my next slide now will be description of each and every bone, of how it's adapted to its function in human beings. Thank you very much.